Okay, Dominica, you don't know this is the rude boy lady out of the first serenade band. Hear me now. DBS rocking, just like that. I, DBS blinging, just like that. You don't know everybody that listen to DBS radio, just like that.
National broadcaster DBS continues to educate, inform, and entertain. Listen to Good Morning Dominica from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. Monday to Friday. You should not miss Weekday Rendezvous from 10 to 2. Get the Creole experience on Esperance Creole Monday to Friday from 2 to 4. We'll take you on a cruise on drive time from 4 p.m. Get informed and entertained through the various evening programs that we offer. If you think this is a lot, try the weekends on DBS. Enjoy Heat-Powered Creole, Saturday Jams, Cadence Spectacular, the Saturday Night Party, Sunday Oldies, Discoveries, and more. Keep it locked on the nation station, DBS.
That is true. Y'all, I'm telling you straight, DBS along with deep fries and Wall Street, telling you that what you gotta do, DBS is what you need, what you want.
So tell me what you want.
DBS, of course.
Tell me who you need.
DBS, of course.
Tell me who you want.
DBS, of course.
Well, I'll sing it again.
DBS, of course. Yeah. DBS.
DBS, of course.
Yeah, DBS. 88.1. Straight up DBS, yes. DBS, of course. DBS, yes. Come in DBS, yes. No.
Fresh Market Pharmacy has extended to...
It is already 3 minutes after 9 o'clock. Good morning to you, listeners in Dominica and further afield, of course. We are heard in many countries, if not all, outside of Dominica. So we welcome you to the very first talking point for the year 2024. It's a special talking point program. You would have heard the advertisements. We have advertised it a lot that we will be discussing with Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit. We want to have a conversation with the Prime Minister and look at several issues. We'll be looking at issues as it pertains to national developments, government policies, and much more. Kewana Fontaine Wilson, who heads the language department at DBS Radio, and myself, the program director, we will speak to the Prime Minister. We'll have a conversation with Dominica's Prime Minister, Roosevelt Skerrit. Normally at the end of the year or early in the new year, we make arrangements to have the Prime Minister on, apart from other times as well. Now, we always realize the importance of the Creole language. Kewana will agree that language is more than the primary means of perpetuating culture. So, Kewana, the Creole Queen, I'm sure you are looking forward to this conversation. Let me bring you on. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Ivona, and special morning greetings to our listeners listening to us via our various frequencies. And also, I'm happy to be here, Ivona. Thank you so much for inviting me to this very important interview. And of course, as you said, the Creole language is very important, and I'm happy to be part of this interview so I can pose some Creole questions to the Prime Minister, of course, and we can expect our Creole answers from the Prime Minister on this very important interview. The first for the year, Ivona, and I think that Dominicans will be looking forward to hearing from our Prime Minister, the Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, both in English and Creole. It's a special interview. It has never been done in that way before, Ivona. So we are looking forward to another exciting, informative, and interesting discussion with our Prime Minister.
Mm-hmm. A good way to start, of course, you have the Creole program every day, Monday to Friday. Mm-hmm. But discussions like that, we can see how we can bring in more of the language culture on. But let us welcome Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit. Let me go to Studio 2. Happy New Year, Prime Minister Skerrit. Good morning, and thank you for accepting the invitation.
Well, morning to you, Ivona, and of course to Kewana, and to the listeners of DBS Radio, and more specifically the Talking Point program. I'm very happy to be here. Let me extend again Happy New Year to everyone, Dominica and outside of Dominica, and we look forward to working together in 2024.
Thank you, Prime Minister Skerrit. Let me also say thanks to the other radio stations that are joining us as well, and the online media platforms. Various online media platforms are covering this discussion live, so we thank you for that. There are several issues, as I said, that we want to look at this morning. But let me ask you from the onset, Prime Minister Skerrit, how would you describe the year 2023 in a nutshell? A year of mixed fortunes, a year of highs and lows? How would you describe 2023?
I mean, 2023, was a challenging year for I believe for the entire world, especially with the Russia-Ukraine conflict, which followed up on from the lingering impacts of COVID-19. And then you have, towards the end of the year, the conflict between Israel and Hamas. Of course, all of these shocks would have an impact on prices of goods and services the world over. Many countries got affected by inflation, high energy costs, high food prices across the world. So it was a challenging year, but there are many things I believe we in Dominica and of course the entire world can be grateful for. And so 2023 been a pretty interesting year. In Dominica's case, we were able to sustain all of our programs, provide support for investment, further investments in the country. With several of the hotels ongoing, towards the end of the year, we were able to finalize all of the agreements relating to the advancement of the geothermal project for Dominica. And so 2023 has been a very difficult but also rewarding year.
Okay, so later on, I want to look at some of the points that you raised a short while ago, especially as it relates to the
to the crisis in other countries that would impact us in Dominica. When we look at geothermal energy, international airport, so there are several things that we want to look at. Let me say as well, though, that at some point we will open up the lines for people to call, but we just want to lay the foundation in the Prime Minister as we continue with this discussion. I'm sure Kewana would want to comment right now. Kewana, interesting to hear how the Prime Minister summed up 2023 in terms of how it was for Dominica.
Definitely, but just before I contribute to the interview, I would just like to inform our listeners that I was told that they could send in their messages, ask the questions via live stream. So you could do that if you have any questions, and you can call in DBS, of course, but you can also send your messages via live stream. Yes, Ivona, comment on Creole, Tiboy Creole, Peace no sa, Premier Minister Roosevelt Skerrit, Patolocha celebrate Venani, Premier Minister Dominic, nous bien content, nous bien complimenté, bon compliment, Monsieur Skerrit. Mais si on a une occasion, Monsieur Skerrit, pour célébrer 20 années comme Premier Ministre, est-ce que ça dit nous, comment ça dit nous, à d'ailleurs des mots, 20 années ça là pour comme Premier Ministre, qui qualité achievement ou ça parle puis nous cote, là il vient pour tant ça là, comme Premier Ministre Dominique?
Well, you want me to answer in Creole or in English? English?
You can do both.
Okay.
Yes, and I will ask. I'll have a follow-up question on that in English, but it would be nice to hear you speak Creole on that particular question.
If it comes of alors Venala Dominique to bâtir puis plusieurs difficultés. On a commencé en 2004, le rentré gouvernement. Nous tenions un earthquake, tremblement de terre, qui prend place en Nord-Dominique. Nous en 2010, on l'a bitin pour faire et puis climat là. 2013, 2015, 2017 et puis en 2020 jusqu'à 2023 nous tenons Covid. Pendant 2008 pour 2015 nous tenons situation global financement where you had a crash in the financial system globally. Et puis aussi ni en situation où la puis gaz puis huile monter prix qui yon $150 pour un baril. Et bien ça a affecté Dominique. So monter pour manager pays là et puis toutes ces difficultés ça là. Mais là regardez ça nous ça fait en 20 années ça là. Et pas les pièces gouvernement depuis nous fait à Dominique qui fait plus pour Dominique pour pays là. Mais nous avons aussi une situation où nous tenons pour manger difficulté gouvernement avant nous, UDLP. On a détruit pays là. Et puis nous tenons pour aller pour IMF et World Bank et puis taper et différents pays pour manger situation Dominique. Et puis en 2002 to 2006 nous tenons pour manger ces difficultés là. So it était en période où là nous tenons plusieurs difficultés. Mais là regarder ça nous fait infrastructure Dominique, chimie Dominique, éducation, santé, tourisme, ou ka parler agriculture, ou ka parler industry, et puis internationalement nous pas de Dominique, nous pas de relation et puis autant pays et puis nous travailler pour mettre ces business là en place. Nous ça tout un petit pays Dominique, nous ça fait plusieurs dominicains élevés en position internationale. Nous tenons la rock en CARICOM. Nous tenons Dr. Carissa Etienne qui nous tient en Paro et puis Baron Scotland et puis Commonwealth Secretariat. Mais là ces jobs ça là mon supposé ni qualification mais c'est pays qui a voté. Ou ça savant qu'on savant, mais c'est pays qui a voté. Et puis nous tenons pour travailler sur tous ces pays-là. So nous avons tapé majorité support pour Dr. Kairos Etienne et pour et puis Baroness Scotland internationalement pour faire placer en ces positions-là.
So how do we not really translate this in English, but I want to ask you a question on that line. You'd be maybe better able to maneuver yourself when you answer a question like that in English. Prime Minister, this week, of course, you became the first Dominican to serve as Prime Minister for 20 years, having succeeded the late Pierre Charles. How did leaders before you, though, influence your leadership style, Prime Minister Skerrit? And how do you best describe your 20 years at the helm of government and answering, of course, in some of the things that you would have mentioned in Creole?
Well, two things. As people know, before my association with Rosie Douglas in the 90s, I was also associated with the Freedom Party. And there was some training which I received from the Freedom Party in terms of political activism, which I was able to bring to the Labour Party and to enhance the discipline and the focus of the Labour Party. So that is one from the Freedom Party, but also my engagement with Rosie Douglas over the years that we worked together, prior to he being in government, and of course when we were leading up to elections. So these are two of the leaders, and of course my interaction in the early days. When I before becoming the power for Vickers, and of course after becoming the power for Vickers, and engage and Prime Minister, and engaging E.O. LeBlanc on several occasions and seeking his counsel on a number of issues. So my interaction with these people would have certainly assisted in how I see government and what I believe my role should be as Prime Minister.
Okay, at this time we can welcome the Honorable Rayburn Blackmore, who is responsible for national security in Dominica. It is a pleasure to have the Minister on as well. Honorable Rayburn Blackmore, we're going to ensure that you hear us clearly, but it is a pleasure to welcome you, and we can extend as well New Year greetings to Honorable Blackmore. Towards the end of 2023, we heard a lot more from him again, of course, and he will talk later on about this all-important issue of national security and other matters, of course, pertaining to his office. But Honorable Blackmore, it's a pleasure to have you on. Happy New Year. Good morning.
Good morning. Always a pleasure to be at the number one radio station, DBS Radio, and it's an honor for me, a distinguished honor for me to be in the company of our Prime Minister, who has actually led this country, in my view, for the past 20 years as the Prime Minister, from crisis to a certain degree of economic and social stability that we have not seen in the history of Dominica. I think it's a tremendous story to be told in the history book of Dominica.
Well, Honorable Blackmore, we also have to test your Creole on this. I know you have spoken a lot of Creole on Creole programs, if K1 and Fountain Wilson, and other programs as well, but we also want to hear you in Creole. We realize the importance of having Creole as well in conversations like this, and you too would want to say something in Creole as we continue.
Bonjour tout le monde, mon bien confortable, pour 6 heures déjà pour parler avec Dominicain, et le Premier ministre Roosevelt Skerrit. C'est un Premier ministre exceptional, Dominicain beaucoup aware en history, Dominic.
Okay.
Bienvenue, Ministre Sécurité Nationale, Monsieur Rayburn Blackmore.
Okay.
But just to respond in some degree in English with regards to the question I was asked.
Yes.
As I said, this country faced tremendous crises over the 20-year period in government. In 2004 we had the earthquake. In 2013 we had 2010 we had Ophelia. 2013 we had the trough, the Christmas trough. 2015 Erica. 2017 Maria. From 2020 to 2023 we had the COVID-19 to deal with. Prior to that, in 2008 2015 we had the financial crisis, global financial crisis, and during that time as well we had the oil crisis. And we had to maneuver all of those external shocks, things we have absolutely no control over, but we had to respond to those realities. And when one looks at when one goes back 20 years ago, or even 2000 when we came into government, I mean, the country was in crisis in 2000, and we had to spend 4 years of the first term and to address the issues that we inherited. It was a very serious situation we inherited. But when you look at our investments in health, in education, the expansion of the economy, in tourism, infrastructure, one can appreciate the tremendous work that we've done over the years. I mean, when we spoke of having one university graduate in every household, people laughed at it. And we are confident that we have achieved this. And of course, on the global stage, Dominica was not very well known in terms of its diplomatic relations with countries. And we have been able to grow this to the point where we're able to get Erwin LaRocque appointed as Secretary General of CARICOM. We got Dr. Carissa Aiton, who we were laid to rest yesterday, elected twice. And of course, Baroness Scotland voted in twice. And while these people have the requisite qualifications, at the end of the country's vote. And we're able to persuade the majority of those countries to vote for Dominica's candidacy. And it in large measure is because of the relationship that we have and we've had with these countries on a bilateral basis.
A discussion, an interview with Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit, and we also have with us the Minister with Responsibility for National Security, Honorable Rayburn Blackmore. We go up until 10:30. Very soon we'll open up the lines for your calls, as we mentioned earlier as well. You can also send your messages on the Facebook page, several platforms that we are carrying this live on. You could also call when we open up the lines. You could call 448-3284, 1-800-327, and we'll give you the other numbers. There's the international number as well, 305-432-9744. If you're just tuning in, welcome. We are having a discussion with Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit and Honorable Rayburn Blackmore. Yes, Kiwana.
Yes, I will speak in English right now.
Oh, yes, no one then we can talk in a little Creole.
All right. Prime Minister, I observed a post at the beginning of the year. I think it was a New Year's message to Dominica, and I quote, it said, as we embark on the journey into 2024, let us collectively renew our dedication to advancement and prosperity of our beloved Dominica, end of quote. Can you elaborate on the specific goals and the vision that you have for the advancement of our country?
Well, first of all, I'm of the view that we need to work more closely together as a country. The country is too small for us to engage ourselves in a continuous internecine relationship. We will have political differences or even religious differences, but we have to recognize that we need to work together on some core developmental issues. When you speak, for example, of our efforts towards renewable energy and having energy independence, in an effort to spur economic activity, to reduce on the cost of energy to domestic and commercial consumers, and to reduce our reliance and eventually eliminate our reliance on fossil fuel. And we have made tremendous strides in that. We've signed all the necessary agreements to advance it. We mobilize the resources, both with our own resources and also external resources. And with the signing of the agreement with OMAT, which is the essentially the final stage of advancing the geothermal energy. You're talking about the digital transformation of our country. You're talking about our continued investments in health and improving the delivery of healthcare services and the number of services which we have, which we're providing to our citizens. You're talking about the international airport. And what does that international airport mean to us? So, I really don't understand why anyone in Dominica would be expressing any negative views about the international airport. This is an airport that every administration said they wanted to do. before independence and post-independence, and it should not bother some people that it is Roosevelt Skerrit and this government who are pushing it forward. At the end of the day, Dominica is going to benefit from this airport. Investments, we're going to have investments, we're going to have more jobs being created. We will see more investments in tourism, more investment in agriculture, because this airport will help transform our opportunities, and that is what other countries have over us. We don't have an international airport, they do, and I think once we can put the international airport and have it functioning and operational, it's going to be huge. Our continued investments in education, or continued investments. I mean, we have 7 schools in this year will be under construction. Major investments. You're talking about also our investments in agriculture and small business development. When you look at the plethora of small businesses which exist in Dominica, I mean, this is really unprecedented. Thousands of young people and other ages are engaging themselves in additional sources of employment and revenue, and also creating jobs for their fellow men and fellow women. And a number of these things have happened because of the direct support of the government, the policies of the government. You talk about housing. I mean, just before Christmas, we gave out 70 some of the keys to deserving Dominicans across the length and breadth of Dominica. As we speak, we have over 300 homes under construction in various communities in Dominica, and hopefully by June of this year, we will be handing over maybe 250 homes to deserving Dominicans. These things cost money; they're investments. Monies that the government has to locate. We're spending $128+ million in East Coast Road to encourage and to spur economic opportunities for the Carnival people and for the people in the Castlebrose, Good Hope, Pidisofia areas, where increased communication means your value of the land has increased. The people are going to be coming in, easier access and so forth. I mean, in sports, our continued investments in sports, and so they, we just approved the placing of lights on 8 playing fields across Dominica, and the light infrastructure around Island. The ministers will visit, along with members of parliament for those constituencies, will visit in the next few days the locations for those lights on the various playing fields. So the number of investment we're talking about, and I think we're on the right track, and what we need is greater collaboration, people bringing the talent and the skills to the center to the benefit of the people. And people know me, I am prepared to engage in dialogue and in a working relationship with any and everybody who is prepared to put Dominica first. And so this is really, in a nutshell, the sentiments I express in this one sentence.
Yes, but Prime Minister, of course, you mentioned advancements in education, infrastructural development, in healthcare, and more. You spoke about the international airport, geothermal energy. But there are critics who still believe that the government has not managed to grow the economy to acceptable levels over several years. Care to comment or add to what you just said?
But the people have to be specific. I mean, to which areas they're talking about. Look at the GDP contribution of tourism 20 years ago, and what's it contributing now. Look at the GDP contribution of education, what it was 20 years ago and what it is now. Look at the GDP contribution of small businesses and commerce, what is it now? Look at our education system, what it was 20 years ago, what is it now? Look at our health system, what it was then and what is it now? Look at our abilities to contain debt and to be able to pay our debt, what it was in the 80s and the 90s. Tell me. Look at our infrastructure. Every single road in this country when I became Prime Minister was in terrible state. Every single road. Every single main road, every single village road. And anywhere you see roads are in good condition, those roads were done by Roosevelt Skerrit as Prime Minister. All. And I say so with no fear of contradiction. All. Let us think of driving from Roseau to our then airport, Melville Airport, and how treacherous that drive was. That's our main road. Think of the drive from Rosa to Portsmouth. And I'm not going to talk about roads in Mountain, Granby or Penville or Capuchin. Go to these communities and see the quality of roads and Grand Fond and so forth. Notwithstanding the fact that this country has been affected by several natural disasters. Our country was decimated by Hurricane Maria. And the majority of people said that we will never recover. People said it would take us 20 years. And yes, we were set back 20 years. But we were able to regain those investments in 2 years. Why? Because of the discipline of the government and the commitment of investment in the country. So people make political statements. So I think we should say that people make political statements. But there's no empirical data that they can provide to us to say that the country... Look at poverty levels. Look at home ownership in Dominica. Both what the government has built and what private citizens have gone to the banks to build. Look at communities like Warner. 20 years ago, how many homes were in Warner 20 years ago? The new Warner. How many homes were of quality construction in Fokole, on the hill of Fokole when you watch from the port? Look at it today. And several new communities have sprung up. Look at access to water. 100% access to water in every community. By investing millions of dollars. When I became Prime Minister of this country, Castle Comfort was getting water from some tank, some unkept tank by the private developer. Girodale Eggleston, 5 minutes from Rosen, had no water. And you know why they had no water? Because the governments prior to Roosevelt Skerrit felt that you could not invest all that money and not be able to make it back. But they failed to understand the importance of access to potable water. And so we have been able to invest, fix all of the water system, create bring in new water systems, and ensure that we have 100% coverage of water, access to potable water across Dominica. And in every one of those times we've had the natural disasters, our water systems have been affected. But we have been able to mobilize the resources to restore them even to more resilient standards. And so night landing, we forget that our planes our country was closed at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Why? We had no night landing. And because governments before felt that they could never put night landing in at Melbourne, it would never work. And it has worked. Because we extended the runway with the help of Venezuela and with the help of the European Union putting lights at the airport. And we have seen now with direct flights from North America. Hotels. Which hotels existed in 2004? And see how many we have now. And all of these hotels, even the expansion of the hotels, as Prime Minister, I've had a part to play in it. Whether it's Fort Young expansion, most of Fort Young expansion was done under my administration. Most of it was done under my administration. Rosalie was done during my time. Secret Bay, Jungle Bay, you name it, they've all been done during my time. And because of the direct involvement, the direct policies of the government to facilitate and to encourage investments. When DCP left us, we didn't go and cry. We told DCP, Colgate, that we would buy DCP from them. And when Yvonne Asif said he was going to buy it, then I gave him the opportunity as a private sector investor to buy it. And we invested $5 million to support that investment to create the jobs or to bring back the jobs at DCP. And they're doing a fantastic job. And so when you look at fisheries and the investments we've made in fisheries, agriculture, expansion, diversification of agriculture, with all of the times that we've been affected by natural disasters, we've found the resources and put in the hands of farmers. I gave farmers money 2 weeks after Hurricane Maria to go and plant. And by December of that year, we were exporting cucumbers and carrots and the likes out of Dominica. Unparalleled, extraordinary. And with all of this thing happening, after Maria, I never asked anybody for debt forgiveness. And we never deferred on one debt payment. After Maria, no income coming in, no revenues coming in. You know why, Mrs. John Baptist and your listeners? Because of fiscal prudence and fiscal discipline. When Hurricane Maria came, we had $389 million saved. And we were able to use that. You know what I was saving this for? I was saving this to pay off our national debt. Because I wanted Dominica to be the first developing country in the history to have no national debt, zero debt. And had it not been for Hurricane Maria, I would have had enough money to pay our debt and owe no one. And what I was going to mandate the government to do was what we were paying for debt servicing, we would put it into a special account and use it to help small businesses, use it for youth development, use it for education, and to put infrastructure to encourage further investment by the private sector. And then we were saving for our airport. When Maria came, we had about $200 million for the airport. Had it not been for Maria, where we had to spend this money and we had to divert to use funds for other things, we would have had all of the money we need to build the international airport cash. And we would have been able to pay all of the people that we were still owing on the airport for the properties, because we were saving for that. And when you look at we had to relocate all of these communities, people must not forget. And so when people can make political statements, but if you want to engage in a serious discussion about the economy, and we're not saying that we are at the destination that we would like to get to, No. Once you're alive, you'll always need to do things. But one cannot question the fact that this Labour Party administration, successive Labour Party administrations from 2000, have delivered for the people of Dominica.
And you're saying essentially that government has employed fiscal prudence and fiscal discipline, and this has redounded to the benefits of the country.
There's no government that has been more fiscally responsible than this government. And I always say to Dominicans, we are responsive but responsible. And even when things get difficult, we ensure that we can continue to provide to our people. And so education, when you look at education, my friend, when I became Minister of Education in 2002, 44% of high school or primary school graduates were entering high school, secondary school, and 7% in 2002, 7% of all high school graduates attended the state college. No, what do we call the state college now? And just look at, I went to grammar school, and out of 122 of us in grammar school, only 12 of us made it to college. 12 of us. And out of the 12, only 4 of us got scholarships to attend the college at the time. So go figure. And in those days, grammar school was the top school in Dominica. And it's not because some of my colleagues may not have gotten the entry requirements to go to the college or to go to secondary school, but before we start the exams, the Ministry of Education knew the maximum number of students they were taking in. And I would tell people when I was lecturing at the college, and as fate would have it, I would register more students than what the college said they would take. Because Mr. Volney assigned me the responsibility of registering students. But when I saw people coming from Whitaker, poor farmers' children, a fisherman's granddaughter coming from Scottshead, old man coming in his 70s to register his daughter, and because she's late, she would not have gotten the space. I registered these people. And as fate would have it, I became Minister for Education a few years later and embarked on a mission immediately to transform the education system in Dominica, to allow for equity, to allow for access, and to also provide students with the means of taking advantage of the access. And today we have free textbooks, free uniforms, free tuition, free transportation, meals at several of our primary schools across Dominica to ensure that children don't only have access to education, but the means of taking advantage of education. And we have degrees in Dominica, and I keep saying that this is one of the reasons why the place is so hot. Degrees we have in Dominica. And the vast majority of Dominicans who have a degree, a university degree today, got it from 2000. And the majority of them who would not have a degree or two today, had it not been for the policies of the government. In 1 year alone, we spent over $26 million paying universities across the world for students studying. $26 million. And you know what that year was? 2018. You know what happened in 2017? Hurricane Maria. And I went to visit students in certain capitals, and I told them, you will stay in school. We'll pay for you. And in recognizing that parents could not send their little help for the children, you know what we did? We sent help for them to cushion the impact on the parents so that they could buy food and stay in school because of deliberate policies. And what better to give somebody than an education? I'm hoping that they will continue to show gratitude to he who has facilitated it. But that's matter for them. But our policies, deliberate policies, do that. And I'll say to you, my dear friend, and you can interject if I'm talking too much, okay?
Oh yes, because it's all right.
I'm on a roll there.
It's okay, but even before you move on, though, because you just mentioned the issue of
but I recognize I was talking too much.
You mentioned the issue of degrees and all of the help that government is giving to parents and students to obtain advancements in education, degrees and all of that. But what is the situation as it relates to tuition fees right now?
Well, you'll always owe the universities nothing new. But the commitment remains there. And we pay the universities. The universities are getting paid. We're still owing them some, but we're paying them as time goes by. And we will maintain our promise and our commitment to every student who has a commitment from the government. Every student. But it's interesting, that is a minority group. Well, what about the majority who had no problem in getting their tuition paid? You understand? So that is a challenge that we have, but the challenge that we have has not caused us, and that's a fundamental point I want to leave with us. Whatever challenges we have, it has not caused us to reverse our policy position of ensuring that more and more Dominican young people get access to higher education. No, we remain committed to that because we believe it is an important policy that can be sustained and so forth. So we're doing this. But I also tell you, my friend, that we're building the largest infrastructural project in the history of the country without contracting a loan. We've no sovereign guarantee on any liabilities on this project. Extraordinary. Okay. There's no country in the world, none, who developed or undeveloped or developing, who has been able to build the airport without contracting a loan of one kind or the other. None.
Okay, later on we want to go into this as to where are we exactly with the international airport, but I know Kewana Fontaine Wilson wants to come in. Let me as well say that the lines are open now. You could call in, and we also have the social media platform where you could send in your questions, and you could also call 616-1327, 1-800-327-448-3284. If you're calling from overseas, the number is 305-432-9744. A discussion with Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit and the Minister with Responsibility for National Security, Honorable Rayburn Blackmore, is also in the studio with us. Yes, Kiwana.
Yes, I know the Prime Minister has, by a very large extent, expounded and elaborated on how this major investment in infrastructure will benefit the citizens of Dominica. I would just like him to just go a little bit deeper into how this massive, extensive investment in infrastructure will impact the lives of Dominica in the years ahead.
We have seen, Kewana, with just the extension of the Douglas Chelsea Airport, bringing lights to Douglas Chelsea, what it meant for tourism, what it meant for agriculture, what it meant for travel, for Dominicans. Once we build this international, Dominica now is a place to visit, and a number of international publications have recognized that. And these are not people that we paid to write a story for us or anything like that. This is based on their own independent evaluation and assessment. And we believe one of the missing links or bridges to our true destination of achieving our desired goal of transforming Dominica's economy is the international airport. And what does it mean? It means, therefore, that we can have our direct flights to North America and to Europe. And so our visitors to Dominica, our citizens to Dominica, don't have to in transit and have the inconvenience of transiting, because the average tourist goes on vacation for, say, 7 days. And if he's coming to Dominica and he has to stop in a country, get out, sometimes he has to overnight because there are problems with the connecting flight, he may just stay in the country that he is in transiting in. And so when you can get people directly into Dominica, and remove this transiting phase, it's going to mean a lot to Dominica. Now the issue of agriculture, you cannot send vegetables by boat or flowers by boat. People need flowers freshly cut to be able to have their floral decorations, and we can be able to get our flowers into the United States, into Canada, into Europe, within 7 hours. Maximum 7 hours, 8 hours. And so one can appreciate the impact it's going to have on our economy. Small businesses, the number of people who would like to export things, but how do you get it on a small plane that now we almost have to weigh passengers to get on? And have to be transited. So when we can get all our small business, and then so many things that we produce in here in Dominica, small business owners, adding value to our local primary products. There's a whole set of intended benefits you're going to have in this international airport. Not talking about the direct jobs that it's going to create in terms of the operation of the airport, but I'm talking here about the investments, sustaining the investment we're making in tourism. The hotels we're building, I believe that we will not have problems in filling the hotels with international.
So we are creating
airport.
the enabling environment.
That's what we're doing.
And now people are calling, and let me just inform our callers as well that there are times, of course, when you'll have to hold on for a while because we'd want the Prime Minister to answer his question, and also the Minister for National Security. And as I say that, let me come on to the Minister for National Security, Honorable Rayburn Blackmore. The issue of national security.
Before you go there, can I? Because
Yes, go ahead.
As a Dominican, can I?
Go ahead.
I have been listening to the Prime Minister, and I'm trying to put myself as not as a politician, but as an average citizen. And it's not about blowing your own trumpet, but I believe that it's okay for people to ask questions and question the performance of the government or lack thereof. But what I denounce in totality is the apparent intellectual dishonesty of people who know better. Just going back to the very potent statement the Prime Minister made just now on the whole issue of infrastructure, and coming from the question asked by Ivona about people are saying that not enough is being done to grow the economy. But if I were to ask, how can you grow any economy by not addressing the fundamental constraint to growth? And that is why the whole issue of infrastructure, roads, as the Prime Minister rightly said, because when we came into office, I happen to have served as the Minister for Public Works. Out of 320.6 kilometers of our main road, 240 kilometers were in a sorry and deplorable state. One cannot appreciate, stimulating economic growth without at the same time creating the environment to encourage commerce, the transfer of goods and services and people. Do you understand that? So that fundamentally, that's an issue that the government of the day under the leadership of Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit. And from 2004 to 2014, before Erica struck and subsequently thereafter Maria, we had spent $507 million to address the fundamental issue of a deplorable physical infrastructure. Now, the other issue, as the Prime Minister rightly said, is the access to the country. Air access. We had no night landing, no same-day connection. We did that. The Prime Minister did that. So you have to create the environment. Now, going to the to Sufri and Scott said, an ancient request by the people of that area, since in the day of Papa Moise as the power rep, you're talking about 6 defense walls. Again, based on the establishment, on the forging a better relationship with Venezuela, the Prime Minister was able to mobilize the requisite funds to build those defense walls. And it is continue. The other major issue of significance, but we're sweeping under the rug, conveniently so, is the whole issue of having a trained human resource base, a major constraint to growth. Strictly speaking, the government obligation to scholarship is about 2 per year. 2. When you have a situation, but thousands of ordinary people, the ones downtrodden, at an average of 28,000 US per year, being afforded the opportunity to go to overseas to pursue various contemporary disciplines at no cost. There are a number of people in this country. I can recall coming once I acted as the Minister for Public Service, and I came to the Prime Minister, a man who had served as a police officer, who had co-signed a loan for his daughter. And the bank was on the verge of taking his house. The bank, he intervened. Now, the parents now, because of what Labour stands for, what the Prime Minister stands for, what we stand for as a party, do not have to think of having second mortgages of the homes. It's not because of government intervention, it's because of the government that is currently in office. Fundamental principle and philosophy. Those are the issues many would like to sweep under the rug. But those are the facts. And I think I'm saying...
Good morning to Mr. Blackmore.
Yes, go ahead with your question. Let's see how quickly we can do this.
Yeah, well, I really want to compliment the Prime Minister for a job well done. For 20 years, he become Prime Minister of Dominica. And really and truly, I'm living in the Virgin Islands, and every time I come to Dominica, I always see a big difference. And he spoke about the inside road of the villages. The village, especially my village in Lap Lane, it's a big difference to compare how this road used to be in Lap Lane before. So really and truly, whatever the Prime Minister say, all what the Prime Minister is saying is really and truly, that's a fact that he did very well for Dominica. In 20 years, he became Prime Minister, and 23 years the Labour Party in government. Job well done, PM. Job well done, man. Love you all, and continue doing the great work you're doing for Dominica. All the best to you all.
Thank you for the intervention. To that caller, we are having a discussion with Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit. We also have the Minister who has responsibility for national security, Honorable Rayburn Blackmore, Kewana Fontaine Wilson, and myself, Ivona John Baptist Luge. We are interviewing the Prime Minister and Mr. Blackmore. Yes, Kewana, I'm sure you'd want to come in at this point. And by the way, you could keep on calling 1-800-327-448-3284, 616-1327, 304-432-9744. Yes, Kewana.
Ivan, I know you mentioned that you wanted to ask a question on national security, but I want to go back to the 20 years that the Prime Minister is in office, and I would like to ask him, what legacy would you want to leave behind after your 20 years as the Prime Minister of Dominica? Any personal lessons that you may want to share with our listeners right now?
I'm not someone who pays attention to issues of legacy, and I am doing a job. What I do for the people of Dominica, I am really just an instrument, and I mean that when I say that. I came into government as a young person to serve these people, serve the country, and this is what I have tried to do, and this is what I will continue to do. But if I am to say so, and I say so with the greatest sense of humility, there is no person who has occupied the office of Prime Minister in our country who has shown more concern for the welfare and well-being of Dominicans. And so what I would like Dominicans to remember me for is that I have loved this country and the people who live in it, and I've done the best to make their lives better during the years I am there. But if you were to look at what we have done in those 20 years, it is really unprecedented. I mean, people, you may have little challenges when you go to the hospital in terms of attitudes and so forth, but when you look at the investments when you look at the hospital then and now, and look at healthcare then and now in terms of infrastructure, access to specialized care and so forth, I mean, it is really historic in nature. Empowering people, things like regularization of squatters, people who occupy government's lands for decades and unable to advance themselves, and by by sending the lots to them at $1 square foot, and they being able to go and get a certificate title and go to the banks and credit unions to build their homes is unprecedented. So there are a number of positive things that one can speak about. But I mean, when I achieve something, I look for the next challenge. I'm not really a celebratory person, not contrary to what people think. I am more focusing on working hard and ensuring that we can continue to steer the ship of state into safe harbor, because there will always be challenges that one has to confront, and challenges that you have no control over, but you have to navigate them. And I think sometimes people don't understand how difficult it is to run a country like this. You have to make every dollar that you want to spend, and expenditure can be high because we have to support this and support that, and we continue to do it. And I believe that we have done a tremendous job in managing the affairs of Dominica over the last 20 years.
Let's go back to the telephone. We have someone on the line. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Go ahead. Hello?
PM, that's your boy Guada.
Yes, morning.
I think that PM, thank you for the good job you are doing. PM, you are one of the best. You are one of the best, and we love you. And all who criticize it, that's on the other side, if them criticize. But I want to make them know, Labour is working. Labour can't travail. Et Labour can continue to travail. One love Labour. We love you. Bye-bye. That's all I have to say. Bye.
Thank you.
Prime Minister Skerrit, one of the most contentious issues in Dominica is electoral reform. As we speak, a Trinidadian parliamentarian is here to speak to a forum today on electoral reform. What is government's next move on the matter? I know sometime last year you mentioned that government intends to have the matter go before the public in January.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a contentious issue. The opposition elements who want to make a contentious issue and to want to have it as a political football to their very narrow political interests. We went ahead and I want to go back to the history, so I'll take from the report of Sir Dennis Byron. But we contracted the services of Sir Dennis Byron. He submitted a report. We held extensive consultations across the length and breadth of Dominica with all stakeholders, and everyone who was interested in being consulted showed up and spoke. There are people who spoke at 3 or 4 different venues. The documents were made public by placing them on the government website. We made hard copies to stakeholder representative organizations and institutions, which we hand over to them. And I indicated the next step is for the Attorney General's office to review the legislation and look at all of the points that have been raised in the consultations, and to put forward what we believe would be the 4, 5, 6, 7 points, whatever they are, to bring them back so that we can share with the public in a limited capacity, in a limited way, have them sent to the Electoral Commission as required by law, and then go to Parliament, so that the Parliament can give authority to the Electoral Commission to effect the reform agenda. And this is our absolute commitment to advance in 2024. So we're hoping that all things considered, we can go to Parliament the first quarter of this year and give that authority to the Electoral Commission. Anybody who is bringing anybody to speak on electoral reform now cannot be to advance it. It cannot be to advance it. It is ready to seek to make a political issue out of something and sensationalize the matter when there's no need for that. But this is a democracy. You can bring anybody to speak on anything. And if you're going to bring somebody, then bring somebody who knows about what we're talking about and who can add value to it. And where was that person during the consultative process? Why didn't they bring him? Why wasn't he consulted? So to give people the impression that, we bring somebody to talk about electoral reform. It's just a bunch of anti-government political entities that are seeking to create political mischief and to give the international community the impression that the government has forgotten about electoral reform, and which is not true at all. And thank God the international community knows where we stand on it, because they were part of the consultative process. They were here to witness and to see in an unprecedented manner how democracy worked in Dominica, where government engages the public on a matter that is of interest to some in our society. There's no way in the world that you talk about electoral reform or changing of electoral laws where such public engagement was done. Nowhere. And that cannot be done by a government that's not serious about advancing the process. And I give the people of Dominica and the world the commitment that this Prime Minister and this government we are absolutely committed to advancing the electoral reform process. What we say is that we are not going to engage ourselves in any matter which requires an amendment to the Constitution in the first phase. Constitutional amendments will be dealt with in a separate consultative process, which will engage once we set aside the electoral reform process. I intend to launch, once we go to Parliament to pass the legislation regards to electoral reform, to launch a process of engaging the public on constitutional reform, and to start with the reports of Dr. Liverpool and others who have done some work on electoral reform things. So we're not starting with a blank slate. Let us start with what Dr. Liverpool had presented, and so that will be done separately. But we're not going to confuse the electoral reform process with constitutional reform.
Let us go back to the telephone. Yes, Kiwana, someone is on the line, I think.
Hello, caller. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Ms. Kiwana.
Hi, good morning.
And all the staff of DBS.
Thank you.
Good morning to my beloved son, Dr. Honorable Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit. Good morning to Mr. Black and all the hosts of DBS. Blessed New Year to everyone. And I say, my Prime Minister, my son, nobody cannot stop you. You was created by God. And you are the best Prime Minister who ever come in this country. The Lord have blessed you. You never thought you'd be the Prime Minister of this country.
Okay, so Mommy, I'm sure you have a question. I'm sure you have a question as well.
Yes.
Yeah, let's go with the question. Because the Prime Minister is here for just half an hour again, so I don't want to interrupt you.
Okay, my darling. Okay, I don't want to stay too long. But my Prime Minister, God will continue to bless you, your wife, and your children. And I'm saying, no one can take over power from you. God gave you the leadership to lead this country and the nation. You have been doing a fantastic job. And nobody who come and talk about electrical and or Trinidad and whatever, where they come from. Let them go and fix their country and fix themselves. We are happy in this country. We are quite happy. We have everything that we never had before. You are doing a fantastic job for the country and for God. Continue the mission that God sent you on. You are my Prime Minister.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
The poorest of the poor.
Yes, thank you.
God bless
thank you,
my
caller.
son. Love you forever.
Thank you.
All right. I want to go back to the question that you asked, Ivona, on the issue of national security. I know there were quite a bit of incidents last year, 2023, concerning national security in Dominica. Mr. Blackmore, would you like to enlighten us on some of the goals you hope to achieve in 2024 as it relates to making Dominica a safer place?
Well, ultimately, the primary focus of any government is to ensure that an environment is created for a safer and better environment for all to exist with utmost degree of happiness. And we'll continue to place emphasis, therefore, on that mission to ensure that all the players within that structure, within that system, are equipped adequately to actually exercise on the functions. Insofar as you made reference to some of the issues, I guess, as you know, that in terms of the number of murders that we have had over the past couple of years, and if we don't want to look at it from a comparative basis, even if Dominica still remains one of the safest, if not the safest, in the sub-region, but we had one murder less this year. It's not something we should shout about, but we're hoping that we'll continue in our effort to continue to engage the public, the police and the public, have to work on the degree of suspicion that exists between the public and the police. And as you heard from the acting commissioner, more emphasis is going to be placed to ensure that the police is more responsive, is more involved with the various communities to try to have that fusion of action between the police and the public for the express purpose of preventing crime. Through the issue of community policing and community engagement is paramount. And ensure that, we actually ensure that the establishment of the police force was increased to 600. And I know the issue of manpower has been spoken about. It's not something that's unique to Dominica. I interact with my colleagues in the region and even beyond the region. And that's a problem within the law enforcement fraternity, regionally and worldwide. So as we speak, we're in the process of training an additional 55 police officers. But training police officers without a mission, without ensuring that the persons who are in the police force have the right spirit, is something that we're going to place more emphasis on. So the issue of training, that is, of course, is going to be given more prominence. And I can also say to you, tremendous training has been afforded to the police. And that, and fundamentally, insofar as the police response, is something that we have to ensure. But policing is more or less in your face for it to be effective. You have to see the police officers in the communities, on the streets, etc., to create an environment, a proactive environment, so to speak, and not a reactive environment. So those are some of the issues that we're looking at fundamentally.
What about the issue, though, of community policing? I know this is something that we have brought in, but we probably need to extend it in terms of the program.
What's that?
The issue of community policing, to
yes.
see how well this can work for us here.
Well, we have a plan, and that was submitted to the Prime Minister, and he provided all the funds for the police in that regard. A coordinator has been appointed, and then we have begun the process of engaging some communities. The intention is to engage every individual community throughout the country, but over the Christmas season, of course, there was a halt. We have met with residents of Granby. The issue is not to go and to talk down on people. The issue is to go and to find out what it is the police need to do to better serve you. What it is that you need to do to better work with the police. Do you understand what I'm saying? And that's the fundamental issue that we're talking about. So I do not want to be involved as a minister to go to any community to castigate people, but to ensure that we create an environment of a common understanding to actually achieve a common approach, which is to prevent crime in the first instance.
Let's go back to the telephone. There's a call on the line. Good morning. Hello, good morning.
Good morning to DBS Radio.
Yes, good morning, sir.
Happy New Year to the PM and Mr. Blackmore. PM, that is your boy from Roosevelt Central. One question I have for you. In the project for Roosevelt Central, when are you going to leave the ground? And may God continue to bless you. At 20 years in office, and you give us hope and faith, PM, that child time now in the world. PM, we love you and may God continue to bless you. Honorable Blackmore, thank you for securing us in Dominica.
Okay.
And yes, thank you very much and God bless you.
Okay, thanks for your contribution. His question, of course, borders Prime Minister on the issue of rules enhancement.
Enhancement, as you know, we've contracted a loan of $41 million from the Saudi fund. And so that loan has been finalized, it's been approved by Parliament. We're now going through the phase where we will start the final designs of the project and then go to tender. So all things considered, I'm hoping that we can start this project before the first half or within the first half of 2024. But this is a major investment in the city. This will help address the majority of the concerns which residents and patrons of the city and visitors have with regards to the terrible state of the sidewalks, the drains which need reconstructing. So it's really going to transform the city of Roseau and enhance the aesthetics of the city and the safety of the city for senior citizens, for people with disabilities, and for all of us who walk the streets of the city of Roseau and who do business in the city of Roseau. And so we look forward to the cooperation of the various property owners and business owners because there will be some inconveniences. All of the major streets in Roseau will be done under this project, and all of the drains will be covered, so there's no fear of falling in a drain. The drains will be properly constructed. We are also going to be working with the property owners, especially the restaurant owners, with regards to grease traps and all these things, so that we prevent these oils and waste to go into the drains and create the stench that's normally created in the city. So we'll look forward to working with them. But the commitment is there. We have contracted the funds, and the next step really is to have this project implemented. Obviously, they have to go for international tender, and we look forward to that process commencing.
Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit and the Minister for National Security, Reuben Blackmore, our guests this morning on a special Talking Point program scheduled for 90 minutes. We started, of course, at 9 o'clock. It is already 9 minutes after 10 o'clock, and we continue the discussion. We welcome your calls and your questions as well. I think there's someone on the line, so let's go to the telephone. Good morning. Okay, we lost that caller. Call again. 1-800-327-448-3284.
Speaking of callers, Ivona, there are those listening following us via Facebook, and there are those who are asking questions as well. So there's a question from Snapalora. He asks, besides the airport and geothermal and the Roseau Enhancement Project, I think he's just saying that the Roseau Enhancement Project is one of the most important projects in Dominica, besides the airport and the geothermal. Do you agree to that, Prime Minister Skerrit?
Well, it's a major project and it's a major investment. I mean, this is an unprecedented investment in terms of the infrastructure in the city of Roseau, which will address long-standing concerns with the residents, in particular, first and foremost, of Roseau. And of course, this person is known in Roseau and is familiar with the city of Roseau, so he understands how important it is for people who live there and work there and who run businesses there. And so it is really going to help improve the ambience and the environment of the city and the safety of the city. So it is one of the top projects, and even speaking to people and hearing comments of people, that for many people, and I agree with Snapper that this is it may not be in the category of the international airport or geothermal, but certainly it is not lagging far behind.
We have a call on the line. Good morning. This is DBS.
Yes, good morning to you. And good morning to your guest, the Honorable Prime Minister and the Minister of National Security. I just want to congratulate the PM on a job well done. I mean, the PM has really looked at Dominica as a whole, and he has implemented a lot of programs that has gone and helped a number of people, including the elderly, and instituting programs such as the National Employment Program. When you go across the length and breadth of Dominica, you're seeing the impact that it is having on the lives of the people in the village, and of course having the impact on Dominica as well, because they commend him on a job very well done. As to electoral reform, the Prime Minister is on cue on what he expects, and we know we went through the entire process, and we know it's going to be implemented within the next few months. So I mean, whether there's somebody on island who, I think they're just trying to throw some key spanner in the wheel, that because they know that electoral reform is coming on stream. But I want to commend the Prime Minister, because I have seen Prime Ministers before. He's the best Prime Minister ever. I was small when very small when Mr. Serafin took over. I saw Mr. Patrick John. I mean, I didn't see him but I mean, I was under his thing when I was going to school. He was the Prime Minister of Dominica. I saw O.G. Serafin, Prime Minister O.G. Serafin. I saw Miss Charles. I saw Mr. Skerrit, Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit. And Mr. Skerrit is one of the best, and he is the best Prime Minister ever. His vision for Dominica, if he had to stay there, Dominica would be very well off. But I want to commend him today, and keep focused, sir. Keep your eyes on the wall, because you are doing a good job. Thank you and good morning.
Thank you.
There's another caller, so let's take this one. Good morning. Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Yeah, go ahead. No, I'm hearing some feedback, so you're probably listening to...
Yeah, I'll move away.
Okay,
I'll
all
move
right.
away.
Okay.
I'm going to send you a message for you to read for me, but I can't. I've been calling and can't get through.
Okay, I recognize the voice. Thank you. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes, I want to say morning to the entire panel. That includes the Prime Minister and the Minister of Security. I heard the Prime Minister spoke briefly on a number of areas or issues such as education, healthcare, investment, the economy, agriculture, and of course, the biggest infrastructural project, the international airport. I got two questions. One is regarding agriculture. It falls under the subject of agriculture. Does the Prime Minister or his government have any thoughts on agro-processing? Because I've heard him said a number of times that he's trying to get people to produce local and sell local to the population. Any ideas regarding agro-processing? Because we are a country of tremendous talent and potential and growth. Number two is regarding health. I need to know when patients, some patients or a number of patients, I went through that experience myself with my family member, that when patients are hospitalized, why do they have to buy drugs from private institutions like the pharmacies? Because there's no drugs at the hospital, and it's a very costly project. And I'm suggesting, rather than the people having to buy the drugs from the pharmacy, why doesn't the government have the drugs available so that the patient can get treated and buy the drugs from the government rather than put it in the pockets of the pharmacies? Thank you very much.
Thank you, caller. Yes, Prime Minister, two questions for you.
Yeah, very.
Agriculture.
Yeah, I welcome this question. I'll take the last one first. And I met with the Ministry of Health, of course, the chief pharmacist earlier this week. Part of the challenge you have is sometimes it is not that the hospital doesn't have a drug to treat that particular ailment. There may be several different drugs that one can prescribe to treat a particular ailment. But we have a situation where at the hospital, these things are not they're not using technology, so that the doctor can go on a system and to see which drugs are available at the CMS to prescribe. So you may have a drug to treat that ailment, but the one that the doctor prescribed may not be available at the CMS. So the person has to go to the private establishment to get it. So we're seeking to have, and I want to commend the minister. The minister is leading this, the Minister for Health, seeking to have the system computerized, so that everybody, doctors who are authorized, can have access to the drugs that we have at the CMS, and also that there's greater transparency in deciding which drugs we order, so that doctors need to play a greater role in advising on the drugs and so on, so that there's a greater involvement throughout the health system of persons playing their part beyond just the chief pharmacist in determining which drugs we import in the country. So it's not that we don't have the drugs. You may have 4 other drugs to treat the situation, the ailment, but that particular drug that the doctor may be familiar with, he may prescribe. And that drug you may not have it, and so that's you have people going. But the CMS sells drugs used to sell drugs to the private establishment as well. So in a situation where some of these drugs are not available. So that's my simple response to your question. So I believe that if this thing can be synchronized, if it can be computerized using the software, and so if you go to a doctor, you have an ailment, the doctor will say, well, I prefer this drug, but this other one can work. Actually, it's like painkillers. You have different type of painkillers. Well, you may tell you, well, you may need ibuprofen, and if there's no ibuprofen, well, can Tylenol work? So you have those kinds of considerations there. But I will leave the more technical response to the professionals in that field to give a response on this matter. Regards to agro-processing, my dear brother, what we have done is to set in motion policy framework supported by financial support with loans at the aid bank for manufacturing, $15 million at 2%, and then the $27 million we contracted from the World Bank. A significant portion of that is assigned for agro-processing and agriculture, and plus the several tens of millions that we provided to small business owners for as grants through the small business unit, and also providing concessions to manufacturers. And we have seen, my friend, while we wait to see, and we all would like to see a big factory for agro-processing, but when you take into consideration the significant number of individuals across the length and breadth of Dominica who are involving themselves in agro-processing using local raw materials, I think we need to find a way of bringing that to the attention of the country. The Ministry of Small Business, they have held symposiums, and of course with the Christmas village that was held, there are several small businesses there. But there are so many people, and one of the things we have to work on is to see how we can get that into the statistical data of the country, because these things are not captured in our statistical data. And this is why I always say our economy is larger than what is being reported, because you're not capturing the data. People put things on the on the plane as their personal luggage. They put stuff on the ferry to go to Guadeloupe and Martinique and St. Lucia as a personal luggage, so it's not captured as export, and therefore it cannot be quantified in terms of what this how many euros that they're going to bring into the economy or US. People export things, people sell things locally, so there's so many things. Look at the number of local juice buses you see packed across the streets of Rosa. All of these things are done by local people using local fruits and vegetables to make juices and so forth. I mean, so many things are happening there in terms of agro-processing, and so what we've been talking about in the government is to see how we can facilitate those existing people to upgrade their standards with labeling, packaging, and also preparation of the agro-processing processes, and to build regional centers where people can go into the centers and so that can reduce on the cost of production for them. So yes, we look forward to a bigger plant, a factory, but the extent of the presence of actual agro-processors in the country is huge. But at the end of the day, my dear brother, as you know even better than me, for these things to be successful, for agriculture to be successful, we first must consume what we have in Dominica. And I think if we can consume what is produced in Dominica, then we can see even greater advancements and investments in agriculture and agro-processing.
Let's go back to the telephone quickly. Good morning. You are on.
Yes, good morning, and civil greetings to everyone. I'm moving fast.
Yeah.
Mr. Prime Minister, I have a question, but it's an educational question. It's not a political question.
Sure.
You have said that the government is mainly responsible for knee-high and national security, E, education, H, healthcare, I, infrastructural development. Now, I'm curious, where does agriculture and tourism fall under that bracket?
Yeah,
or do you have a different section, different area to deal with agriculture and tourism?
No.
Now, I want to say to you, sir, thanks for your leadership and your service, you and your cabinet service to the country, sir. It's a hard job. It's just a tough job, and a lot of people don't understand it. But again, thanks for your service. I'm listening to the answer, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, what I've said before, and which is a factual thing, a government is really responsible for basic health care or primary health care, basic education, which has been up to 16 years, basic infrastructure. This is why when roads were constructed back in the days, including during the time of our dear leader, David Engineer Charles, the roads were very narrow. You had one lane bridges. So if you drive from from Douglas Childs all the way to Portsmouth. All of these are one-lane bridges, which I now have to find the money now to reconstruct into two-lane bridges, as we did from Roseau to the airport. We had to reconstruct these bridges to allow them to be two-lane bridges because they were all two-lane bridges, and because basic means to give you the bare minimum you need to get through, and basic education was to get you to age 16. This is why when students would have gotten to age 16. You end your school term, your school life, but we have been able to extend that for people by investing beyond 16 years, and of course security, where the issue of tourism and agro-processing and agriculture come is in government's policies, government's facilitation, government putting the infrastructure to encourage those investments in there, and government also going beyond its call of duty by mobilizing resources. This is why, before I came into government, the only people who would get help after a storm, after a hurricane or storm, would have been banana farmers who had insurance. So farmers would never get no support after a hurricane. People would have got no support after Hurricane David to fix their homes. The green hat we got from Guyana, if you're not a supporter of the government back then, you won't get a piece of green hat. So people have to go and fend for themselves. And so what we have done is to pass legislation, my dear brother, to put in policies, to also go beyond our call of duty by mobilizing resources, because the $27 million that we placed at the aid bank to lend to small business owners. These are monies I could have used to, do something else, do some roads, do some bridges, build a few schools. But we put it there so that we can encourage investment by local Dominicans to create wealth for themselves, and by so doing, create jobs for their fellow men and fellow women. So this government has gone beyond the issue of yes, we care. Before, how did we care for our senior citizens? There was nothing in place for them. Nothing. Zero. How small children could not go to school because their parents couldn't afford to pay the bus fare. I remember when we started the program with dailies, the students couldn't go to school in dailies because of the sheer cost of it, and they were owing the bus drivers and they couldn't do it. But there was a power rep for dailies who was the Minister for Education, and that was not done. We did it for the people of dailies and La Plaine and Boutique and Grafo and these places. So the number of things that we have ventured into as a government, building of homes. This is why governments never really built homes for anybody, for people, because it is not a responsibility of the government. These things can stop I can stop all of these things this afternoon by a decision of myself, because these are policy frameworks. When you look at the National Employment Program is a policy framework. This is why we are satisfied if another government would come into office, they would stop it, because they have criticized it so much that they would stop it. And so even tertiary education, if you did not know somebody in establishment, if you were not of somebody of a particular surname in Dominica, you will not get going to university outside of Cuba or outside of Yugoslavia, and with Tito and all these people who on the socialist front will get to go to those universities. No. And the few Dominicans who got scholarships outside of the system were maybe Commonwealth scholarships. One person got it, but we have hundreds of our people who are at universities as we speak because of the facilitation. Of the facilitation, and so forth. What we need to see is that I also want to call on people to render to Caesar that which is Caesar's. And people who owe taxes to the government need to pay the taxes, because if you don't pay the government the taxes, how is the government going to pay people that it owes? How is government going to maintain roads? How is government going to underwrite this huge cost of primary health, public health care into Dominica? How are we going to pay the hospital? We have more doctors and people working at the hospitals than ever before, because more people are getting sick because of our eating habits and our practices. But it is a huge cost to run just this hospital, the Dominica China Friendship Hospital. And the people don't pay the hospital fees. You go to the hospital, you get service, they give you a little bill, you don't pay. You don't pay. So how do I fix the MRI machine when it goes down? How do I fix the CT scan? How do I buy all of these supplies that you have to use for every X-ray that you do? You cannot wash the X-ray film. Once you use it, that's it. You understand? And so it's a huge cost. So we as Dominicans, we also have to play our part. We cannot always want things or want this done or want this, what's Skerrit doing. But what are you doing? Ask yourself that question. What can I do? And what am I able to do? And then you can join with what Skerrit is doing, and we can be further than where we are. If we're just engaging ourselves in lamentations and this and that. But what can I do? And so let us pay the little dues that we have to pay, so that the government can have the resources that it needs to sustain the services that it provides to the people of Dominica.
Yes, Prime Minister, I know we are quickly winding up our interview here. I know in the past, I know you are very passionate about the ease of regional travel. Recently, we heard that the regional airline Liat recently announced that all commercial flights operations will cease as of 24th January 2024. Have you heard so? And what is your take on that? How do you feel about that? Are there any plans of the government to deal with that issue?
Well, it's a legal issue. There's nothing we can do on this legal issue. As you know, we were a shareholder of Liat. And when I invested in Liat, I came under serious criticisms from opposition elements and some people in Dominica saying I was wasting money investing in that. I remember I told Dominicans, if Liat doesn't fly for one day in the Caribbean, we're in trouble. We're in trouble in the Caribbean. And I always held the view that for you to have any sustained airline business in the Caribbean, among these islands, to be serviced properly, governments must be involved. Governments must seek to underwrite a certain portion of the expenses associated with running these airlines. Otherwise, you will get countries that will be completely underserved or not served at all, because it may not make any economic sense to fly planes into those destinations. And this is why we invested in Liat against all the public criticisms which were meted out to me when I took the decision to invest in Liat. And Dominica is still prepared to invest in any airline outfit that will serve the Caribbean, because we believe that it is absolutely important. And my view is, let us come together as governments. Okay, we need $20 million to start the airline. Let us have a strategic plan for this airline. Let us put in good management, an executive chairman, good board members. Let the government stay out of the running of the airline, and let the board and the management implement the strategic plan. I don't believe in government running anything. This is why we don't own things in the private sector as a government. Anytime we invest in anything that's supposed to be the private sector, is because there's a gap. But I don't believe in the government running anything. Government should not be running anything. Government cannot run anything. Should not run anything. So we should leave it to private sector people to run these airlines. So we having discussions with some of the islands within the OECS about looking to see how we can work together towards introducing some kind of operations that will alleviate the situation within the Caribbean. But the Caribbean cannot grow to the extent that it wants to grow without addressing intra-regional travel.
Mm-hmm. We'll get closing remarks in a short while from the Minister for National Security, Honorable Reuben Blackmon, the Prime Minister as well. I know the Prime Minister has another engagement.
So that's okay.
But it's remiss of me, though, Prime Minister, not to ask this next question. And I'm not hastening any departure. And you'll understand.
No, that's okay.
You'll understand when I ask the question. Because I remember that you have spoken about a departure from governments or possible departure. You will correct me if I'm wrong, before the next general elections here about is this still on the cards?
It's still on the cards. It's still on the cards. I think everybody will have to make his own decision at the appropriate time. I do not think there is anybody in this country, even any person walking the street of Dominica, and I say so with the greatest sense of humility, who has made the greatest sacrifice for this country than myself. And when I got into this at a young age, and when I became prime minister, with a country in serious difficulties, and I always tell people I feel like Job in the Bible, tested so many times, but never give up. People, I don't think anybody in the country wanted to be prime minister the next day of Maria. Everybody ran and hide, because when it comes to challenges, the people get scared of challenges and so forth. But I have stood tall and strong when challenges are concerned. So at the appointed time, I make my departure and return to less busy life, but that's it's still on the cards, and we'll see when it happens.
Yes,
and I'm sure the Lord will say, "Well done, good and faithful servant."
Motekia invitan sa koyo la Premier Ministre Skerrit quand nous ka fermé, nous ka venir pour discussion nous qui ça veut quitter et puis nous en koyo pour ces bon là qui ka écouter actuellement.
Eh ben, yo c'est tu là moi qui vais parler et puis expérience créole ou ça madame section vous voulez et puis c'est Pep Dominique aussi madame section en créole et puis moi qui répondre en créole, mais moi bien content pour venir à ces talking point pour parler et puis épisode quand développement Dominique et puis ça nous pour faire qu'on Pep Dominique pour élever situation Dominique et puis mener plus développement Dominique ou la monde ça fait plus l'argent mettre l'argent poche monde ou la monde on meilleure la vie. So moi continue que travail position ça là et puis geste ça là pour travailler web pour élever Dominique et puis nous les plaisir bien nous faire mais nous continue pour faire pour mener développement Dominique et puis nous pas seulement garder compte développement physique, nous aussi garder compte développement monde même Pep Dominique. Ça c'est pour nous ni programme comme NEP. Ça c'est pour nous ni programme quand assister jeunes gens aller à l'université et puis state college et puis l'école secondaire. Ça c'est pour nous ni Yes We Care qui mener santé et puis la vie et puis chez nous pour ces monde là qui travaillent tellement ouais nous pour tellement l'année développement nous a dit nous merci nous content ça yo fait et nous assister yo c'est gouvernement ça qui mettait chances ou là nous ni enfants Dominique qui ont des difficultés, ou là, ils ont en place, ou là, ils ont dormi, ils ont mangé, ils ont joué, ils ont aller ni éducation. So, plusieurs bits nous fait pour Pep Dominique, pour toucher, Pep Dominique. Et puis, la vie Pep Dominique, nous avons bâti Kai, nous avons mangé Kai, pour yo, laisser, monde qui 60 l'année, plus, les yo aller à l'hôpital, ils prennent pour payer rien. Monde qui 18 l'année, et puis moi là yo aller l'hôpital yo pas nous payer mais nous ca payer gouvernement ca payer puis nous pour gagner médication là et puis tout petit nous ça nous pour bailler là yo aller à l'hôpital ça c'est pour nous ca ba on tire allowance pour monde 65 l'année plus tous les mois on tire $300 $350 tous les l'année tous les mois monde qui pas qualifié pour taper Social Security. So nous avons plusieurs bits nous a fait un pays Dominique. Personne gouvernement jamais fait ça. Et puis monde qui ni l'âge, monde qui 100 l'année, monde qui 97 l'année qui dit ça. C'est pas moi qui un jeune gens qui parle comme ça ça mon cas dit ça monde dit moi. Yo là depuis longtemps et puis yo pas jamais voir ça et puis nous pas qu'à beau sur ça nous quand expliquer la vérité Sakian's existence, Dominic. So we will continue to work for Dominica's development. It's always a challenge, but we believe that we equal to the challenge and we're not fearful of challenges. And so the important thing is for us to be more possible country. There's some people who are engaging in negative talk and so let us tell the society it's not going to help you, it's not going to help your family, it's not going to help Dominica.
All right, merci, Mrs. Skerrit. Nous apprécions qui uni bon, nous have control si langue créole. And as we wrap up, I would like to invite the Minister of National Security, Mr. Blackmore, to give his closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Ivona. Thank you very much, Kewana. And as I said, it's an honor to have been here this morning with the distinguished Prime Minister and to interface with the public. Let me say as we conclude that I want to express my gratitude to the Prime Minister and our cabinet colleagues who have been working collectively to address some fundamental issues concerning this country. But I want to give thanks to the Almighty God for allowing me the opportunity to give my entire adult life in service to country, to my wife and family, and the Dominican public. We are going on, of course, the Permanent Secretary and the various heads of departments and from the cleaners to go up the support that they have given me over the years. We are going to continue to ensure that Dominica remains the safest in the region. And one of the issues that we're going to place more emphasis on is the whole issue of ensuring that our criminal justice system is more responsive to citizens. And the whole issue of having easier access to our courts and to ensure that the courts appreciate the responsibility that it has to society. Okay. So we have gone so far to ensure that the infrastructure has been significantly improved and to provide the human resource component. I know the whole issue of as to how the magistrate court operates. We'll be having from the 29th of this month an additional magistrate who will be in Ireland on the 25th to be operating in the north and to ensure that we continue to address the whole issue of access to our court.
Okay.
So
We also
yes,
we've also overapproved for a third judge,
yes,
High Court judge, to Dominica to advance the efficiency of the justice system so that people's cases can be heard more efficiently.
And as you say that the new law year starts tomorrow with a pomp and circumstance and all of that, yes. Prime Minister, you want to hear your closing remarks. But let me just say quickly as well, though. I feel like moving forward that there should be a greater, how I would say it, a more robust information mechanism put in place where we can get, more information from the various ministries. And, we can discuss that at another time. But I'd really like to see that being put in place. Your closing remarks, Prime Minister, but even before that as well, I want your take on Calypsos. I know you have to run shortly, but I want that too.
Yeah, I agree with you in terms of the robustness of information. Ministers are listening, everyone is listening, and they should take note of this, that I always believe that ministers should be speaking to the public more often, on a more regular basis, because they're not representing themselves, they're representing the people of Dominica. So I agree with you entirely. But I want to thank you for having me here, and I look forward to coming back on the invitation. Always a pleasure to be subjected to the questions of journalists and members of the public. We are more than willing to provide information and to engage in interaction, and I'm happy. Thanks for this opportunity to speak to the Dominican public, and we give our commitment to continue to work and to be as transparent as we've always been, and to ensure that we continue to engage in sincere dialogue with the Dominican people. We're not doing this for ourselves, we're doing it for the people of Dominica, and I give the people of Dominica that assurance that we'll continue to work in the best interest. Calypsos, I have not been able to listen to many of them, but I have heard one, A to Z.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure who's singing A to Z.
You're referring to letters of the alphabet?
Yes, there's a song that says about A to Z. And if so-and-so cannot say so-and-so, when so-and-so, doing so and so, then something is wrong with so and so.
Okay. Referring to this female Calypsonian mystery. Let us
I don't let us something I was doing some
so
work.
that one stuck in your mind.
Yeah.
All right.
That's and I think there's a challenge for me to come in the ring.
Yes,
there's a challenge for me to come in the ring. But fellas know, I mean, come on. Fellas know if I come in Calypso, I must be knitting.
Oh yes,
there's a song.
There's a song.
I mean, one little song I make it top the charts in the Caribbean. So a little Calypso I can't beat man in Dominica. I mean, come on.
I'm trying to get
So them will challenge me. If you challenge me, I will come to this thing. You know what I'm saying? So if the guys want to give me a crown, I'll come for it. All right. But thank you, Kewana. Thank you, Ivona. Yes. Thanks for your questions. I appreciate the questions, and of course those persons who call to make the comments and to ask the questions. And feel free to invite me every month if you wish, and I'll avail myself.
Okay, we'll keep to that.
Keep to that. Thank you. God bless.
Thanks again for you joining us this morning and accepting the invitation to speak to us. I know it was very busy when we were trying to get you at the end of the year, but it's a good way to start the year. Talking Point starts officially next week, so we are very happy that you could come on. Yeah. People are still calling, messages are still coming, but we will do this again, and we will let the people know, when exactly we are going to do this and see how often we can do this. I know you have your press conferences, but it's always good to engage.
I always people like questions from the public directly.
Yes, all right.
So I'll come back sometime.
Okay, thanks again, Kewana.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you, Mr. Blackmore, for joining us. And I'll take you up on the offer for coming on Experience Creole whenever the time is possible.
Sure, no problem.
All right then.
No Thank you.
Take care now.
And that's how we end. Continue to listen to DBS Radio. Weekday Rendezvous is on, and stay tuned.